this congressional research report titled U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Operations and Issues for Congress, and it shows that out of 10 million forms processed by USCIS in 2023, only 1.6% were referred to the Office of Fraud Detection and National Security for any indications of fraud or national security threats.
Without objection. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the Biden administration, the United States was flooded with tens of millions of illegal immigrants that used dozens of visa programs to finesse their way into our great nation. In response to this invasion, President Trump signed an executive order simply returning immigration law back to the standards of July 19, 2021, which restores and enhances all screening of foreign nationals, especially those who are considered to be a high risk to this country. In order to secure the homeland, which was about 77 million Americans voted for, we must do more than just finish the wall, fund CBP, and support ICE's lawful deportation operations. We must also reform visa programs which have been used to usurp federal immigration law. We were told post 9/11 that we were going to fight in Afghanistan and that we had to fight in Iraq. And why? Because if we didn't fight the enemy there, then we're going to have to fight them here in our own country now. And now, because of the failures of the Democrat Party's policies, they are now in our homeland. And how do we know? Because 382 citizens who are matches on the terror watch list were encountered at the southern border, and 99 of those were released into the United States from 2001 through 2023. Unacceptable. The Democrat Party under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, and numerous other dark money groups and NGOs made it their mission to flood this country with tens of millions of unvetted immigrants and people who wish to do us harm. Terrorists like Egyptian national Mohammed Sabri Solomon, who used a homemade flamethrower and Molotov cocktails in Boulder, Colorado to attack pro-Israel demonstrators who were advocating for the release of hostages. This man, who was admitted into the U.S. in 2022 on a tourist visa and was then given work authorization in 2023 by, yes, you guessed it, the Biden administration, and had been posting pro-Muslim Brotherhood propaganda on his Facebook page for more than a decade. Disgusting. Ms. Vaughn, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your testimony. If you had a magic wand that could create any policy to prevent tragedies such like we saw in Boulder, Colorado a few weeks ago, what would it be, ma'am?
Well, unfortunately, there's no machine that can read people's minds to know what their intent is when they're coming here. But I think one of the most important improvements that we could make would be to require mandatory interviews for non-immigrant visa applicants and also people who are applying for green cards and immigrant visas.
Okay,
we should have eyes on and a personal contact with everyone who is.
Can you say that again, please? We should have personal contact with every single visa holder of every single individual that wants to enter this country. Am I right or wrong?
Right, at a minimum for their first application. Some renewals are not high risk once you can examine their travel history, but every new applicant, with very few exceptions, should have a personal interview.
What the American public needs to understand and what we know is that 77 million people voted for exactly what President Trump is executing right now. The faux outrage from the left continues to ignore the damage that has been done to our country and people that are literally maiming our fellow Americans while we have done nothing and we stood by idly. We are now acting and behaving in a way that enforces the law. This is not xenophobia. This is the way and the process that it takes to enter a sovereign nation, and we at the federal government must protect that. I am somebody that has deployed all over the world. No other country operates this way. There is not a single country in the world that would allow 20 million people to enter their country illegally, and then when we do something about it, we then cry xenophobia. It would never happen. When I was stationed in Saudi Arabia, you had to have a diplomatic passport just to enter Saudi Arabian airspace. So the idea that we should at least speak to every single person that wants to enter our country is a novel idea because everybody else does it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. Mr. Chairman, I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much. It's interesting that